Here in Istanbul, journalists, academics, and writers from across the world are attending a conference to discuss coverage of Palestine. Journalist Jamal Khashoggi, who was killed in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul on October 2nd, was scheduled to be a speaker. For more on this, let's cross over to TRT World's Ahmet Alioglu, who's at the conference now. Ahmet.
Kilmany, this is the second day of this international conference on the media coverage of the Palestinian, how to develop the Palestinian discourse when it comes to the international media coverage. More than 90 countries, participants from these countries are coming to Istanbul to participate in this important conference, which is the third for Tawasul. And to speak more about what's happening here, we're joined by Dr. Ramzi Baroud, who's a famous Palestinian writer, author and journalist. Dr. Ramzi, lots of things are happening in Palestine, but it's not on front pages. It's not headlines. Why do you think this is the case?
Well, it's not headlines simply because there is an attempt at muffling the Palestinian voice, at completely marginalizing any Palestinian attempts at recreating a narrative that needs to be hidden from the world for such a long time. Because if the world knows that there is tens of thousands of people protesting against Israeli apartheid and Israeli injustice and violations of human rights, I think there will be a new international consciousness regarding what's happening in Palestine. So I don't want to call it a conspiracy, but really it does look like one to keep the Palestinians as marginalized as possible.
But don't you think that the turbulent environment we're living in, the Middle East, Syria, Yemen, Khashoggi case, they're the top stories now. It's not marginalized deliberately. It's just the other hot stories that need to be covered.
The Palestinian story has been going on for 70 years, and I am pretty sure that within certain periods within these 70 years, Palestine could even in fact be the center of attention, not just attention for its sake, but rather attention, the kind of attention that is needed to compel international action, to hold Israel accountable, to force Israel to end its relentless occupation of the West Bank and Gaza and the colonization of all of Palestine. This has been going on for a long time. No, it's not because there are other stories that are occupying the headlines, because stories of this nature come and go. It's because of the Zionist, the very organized Zionist attempt in Western media in particular to keep Palestine out of the headlines as long as possible.
So you said they're very organized Zionists. On the other side, do you have organized Palestinians who can address the international community, the international media outlet, in the language they understand? So it's the fault of the Palestinians, not the international media outlets. Don't you think so?
Yes and no. On one hand, yes, of course, we don't have a centralized strategy that is communicating a Palestinian message day and night. And this is something we must admit and take responsibility for in order for us to reverse it. Yet, on the other hand, we have a civil society worldwide that is becoming more and more emboldened and vibrant every day, leading the boycott, divestment and sanctions movement, BDS. We are able to get to thousands of universities, unions, and platforms worldwide communicating the message of the Palestinian people. And this is why there's this anti-BDS movement that is in Israel and in the United States, in order for them to criminalize even the attempt of communicating the Palestinian message.
Do you think that the BDS movement, you said the BDS movement, is highly appreciated among the Palestinians? Do they know about it? Does the Palestinian Authority and Mahmoud Abbas, the president of Palestinian, show any respect to what they're doing, or they're still against the BDS?
Mahmoud Abbas is living in a hostage to a political discourse that's been happening for nearly 30 years. And it will continue to happen until this discourse, until the whole Palestinian Authority, the peace process, Oslo, until this whole apparatus is destabilized. Mahmoud Abbas will remain committed to that. He's not committed to Gaza, he's not committed to BDS. And frankly, he doesn't matter a great deal to us. we as Palestinians, in civil society Palestinians in Palestine itself, because that's where the call for BDS came from. It comes from Palestine itself. We are answering the call for the Palestinians internationally. The fact that Palestinians in Gaza are leading their own forms of resistance, Palestinians in the West Bank doing the same, Palestinians in Palestine 48, today's Israel, articulating their own discourse that's part of the larger Palestinian discourse. This is all part of the BDS movement. The BDS movement is not just boycotting Israeli products. It's this reductionist attitude that is making a lot of people misunderstand the motives of BDS. BDS is about making the Palestinian narrative whole again.
Dr. Ramzi, thank you very much. Much appreciate your participation. So, international coverage, media discourse, the crisis in Gaza and the West Bank, the BDS movement, lots of things are being discussed in this conference on the second day.
Well, an important topic indeed. Ahmed